Welcome to Beautiful Mind. In today's explainer, we are diving into one of the biggest, most heartbreaking mysteries in all of sports.
Right. We're talking about those moments where world-class champions, athletes who literally seem invincible, just suddenly fail when it matters most.
Exactly. Despite years of intense training and exceptional talent, they just freeze. And the wild part? It's not a physical failure at all. It's entirely mental. By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly what happens inside the human mind when everything is on the line.
So let's paint a picture. Imagine the final seconds of a World Cup penalty shootout. Or, match point at Wimbledon.
The pressure is insane, and the athletes stepping up, they've practiced this exact motion tens of thousands of times. The physical skill is there. It's locked in.
But then, suddenly, their muscles just freeze up. Their perfect timing vanishes, and they completely choke. It makes no sense. Why does this actually happen?
Well, to figure that out, we have to look way past the physical game and peer directly into the incredible and sometimes fragile machinery of sports psychology.
Which brings us to Section 1, the anatomy of a choke. Let's break this down.
Okay, to solve this choking mystery, we need to examine a few psychological suspects. First up on the list, arousal.
Yeah, and arousal gets a really bad rap. People think it's just stress, but it's neither inherently good or bad. Think of it like your body's engine RPM.
That's a great way to put it. It dictates your energy levels on a sliding scale, right? From being in a deep sleep all the way up to extreme adrenaline-pumping excitement.
Exactly. Like an Olympic sprinter waiting for the starting gun. They want incredibly high arousal. But a chess player?
They need a low, focused hum to perform.
But here's where things go wrong. When extreme demands trigger real stress, that arousal can easily morph into anxiety. And this anxiety, it attacks you on two completely different fronts.
For sure. First, you've got cognitive anxiety. This is the pure mental battle. It's the negative self-talk, the sudden overwhelming fear of failure, the doubt creeping into your head.
And then there's the second front, somatic anxiety. This is the physical attack.
Right. The racing heartbeat,
The sweaty palms,
the butterflies in your stomach.
or feeling your muscles literally tremble when you're just trying to hold a tennis racket.
And just to complicate things even further, we have to separate state anxiety from trait anxiety.
Okay, wait, what's the difference?
Well, state anxiety is totally situational. It's that temporary spike in absolute panic right before the green lights go out in a Formula One race. It's tied specifically to the event.
Got it. So then trait anxiety is...
It's a built-in personality characteristic. It means some athletes just naturally carry a higher baseline of anxiety into every single situation, no matter what the stakes are.
All right, moving on to Section 2, decoding stress and anxiety. Let's look at how this actually plays out.
So now that we know our suspects, how do they actually commit the crime? The most important thing to remember here is that choking is never, ever a loss of talent. Right. It happens because this toxic cocktail of triggers, fear of failure, the crushing weight of a screaming crowd, massive media expectations, it creates a total emotional overload. Exactly. And what happens next is fascinating. This overload forces the athlete to suddenly start overthinking their technique, which is the worst thing you can do. Instead of letting their automatic subconscious muscle memory take over, their conscious brain tries to steer the ship. And when you consciously try to control a highly complex, rapid movement that you've practiced for years, the entire system just jams up.
That brings us to Section 3, finding your optimal zone. How do athletes fix this? Sports psychologists have spent years mapping out how this friction impacts performance. The holy grail here is finding the perfect balance. And the first big concept is the drive theory.
Yeah, the drive theory is super interesting because it shows a massive divide based on experience. Basically, increased arousal acts like a giant megaphone for whatever skills you already possess.
So, for a seasoned pro, say an elite weightlifter, who has deeply learned their skills, massive arousal amplifies their performance to record-breaking heights.
But for a beginner, someone trying to execute a really complex action, that exact same high arousal will absolutely crush their performance, simply because the skill isn't hardwired yet.
Right, which brings us to a more nuanced idea, the inverted U hypothesis, or the Yerkes-Dodson law.
I love this one. Just picture a bell curve. Your performance peaks right at the top, at a moderate arousal level.
The Goldilocks zone.
Exactly. If a basketball player is too relaxed before a free throw, they'll miss because they lack focus. But if they are overly panicked and hyped up,
They'll overshoot.
you have to find that sweet spot right in the middle.
But wait, Alex, is that inverted U the same for everyone? Nope, and that's where the IZOF theory comes in, individualized zones of optimal functioning. It reminds us that this optimal zone is highly personal. There is absolutely no one-size-fits-all. Oh, I see. So an aggressive football defender might need to be screaming with a sky-high heart rate just to hit their peak performance?
Exactly.
Meanwhile, an Olympic archer, or even a snooker player, needs a completely different, almost meditative level of arousal to find their perfect zone.
Building on that, we have the multidimensional anxiety theory. This one blows my mind because it proves that cognitive anxiety, those negative thoughts, and physiological arousal, the nervous energy in your body, they don't just lump together.
They act totally independently. A little bit of physical arousal might actually help you jump higher on the court.
But a sudden spike in cognitive doubt will simultaneously ruin your tactical decision-making. Your mind and your body are literally pulling your performance in opposite directions.
Which leads us to a pretty scary concept. Section 4, the Catastrophe Model.
So you know how that earlier inverted U theory suggested that if you get too stressed, your performance just gently slopes downward?
Yeah?
Well, that's a major flaw, because anyone who watches sports knows that big match failures are rarely gentle.
Oh, absolutely.
The catastrophe model reveals the brutal truth here. When an athlete's physical arousal is high and suddenly their cognitive anxiety, that pure mental panic, skyrockets at the exact same time, they don't gently decline.
They fall off a cliff.
The performance completely and utterly collapses. This is when you see a gymnast suddenly miss a routine they've nailed 1,000 times, or a world-class cricketer dropping the easiest catch of their entire career. It is a sudden, catastrophic system failure.
That is terrifying. Section 5, training the champion's mind. How do they deal with this? It really is a psychological minefield. So how do elite athletes survive it when the whole world is watching? Well, it starts with data.
Right, sports psychologists have to act like detectives. They measure an athlete's unique anxiety blueprint using standardized tools like the SCAT, the Sport Competition Anxiety Test.
Because it can't fix what you don't understand. By figuring out whether an athlete suffers more from physical jitters or mental doubts, coaches know exactly what baseline they're working with. And armed with that data, elite athletes train their minds exactly like they train their bodies in the gym. They rely on a super strict stress management toolkit.
We're talking deep breathing to lower the heart rate, visualization to mentally rehearse success, and of course, obsessive pre-performance routines.
Oh, like when a tennis player bounces the ball the exact same number of times before every single serve?
Yes. People think that's just superstition. It's not. That is a highly calculated routine designed to block out cognitive anxiety and trigger automatic muscle memory.
And this brings us to a truth that applies far beyond the stadium. Whether you're serving for a tennis championship, stepping into a high-stakes job interview, or walking onto a stage for public speaking.
The crucial takeaway from this explainer is that pressure itself is not the enemy. Pressure is just a natural part of any meaningful challenge.
Champions are not those who never feel pressure, but those who learn to perform despite it.
The ultimate goal of sports psychology isn't to magically eliminate pressure, because that's impossible. The goal is to manage it, to channel that arousal and find your unique optimal zone.
True champions aren't fearless robots. They are simply people who have learned to execute brilliantly despite feeling the immense weight of the world on their shoulders.
So think about that the next time you face your own high-pressure moment. Will you let the pressure control you, or will you use it to fuel your peak performance?